Welcome to Taxpayer Victory, Video Basic, entitled IRS Cycle of Destruction. That's IRS Cycle of Destruction. Now, I coined that term more than 15 years ago, and I've used it ever since because it helps regular taxpayers understand more completely and more personally, if you will, what they're going through with the IRS, and that there's a way to solve their tax problems. And the thing not to do is to add new ones to the ones that already exist. Now, don't worry. If this is you or somebody in your family or somebody that you know, it is not hard to avoid the IRS cycle of destruction if you know what to do. And that's what Taxpayer Victory is all about. Our Power Packs focus specifically on taxpayer challenges that not just a couple people have, but I'm talking about taxpayer challenges that are common to tens of millions of American taxpayers. Tens of millions. So you're not alone. First and foremost, recognize that. Then, take a breather. Take a deep breath. Just follow along. Get the power pack that applies to you. And you'll learn how to avoid the cycle of destruction. Here's some common examples of IRS cycle of destruction in taxpayer lives. If a taxpayer hasn't filed tax returns for a particular year, and it's not uncommon, you either forget or maybe something happens in your life that prevents you from being able to file on time, and you get behind. And many things can happen to throw you off course, if you will, and not be able to meet the filing deadlines. Many things. Could be an upset in your family, could be a personal issue, could be psychological, could be a physical illness, could be both. Could be the illness of somebody in your family, upset child, could be death, loss of a job, disruption in your life in some fashion that has prevented you from reasonably being able to file on time. But even a circumstance where you haven't filed on time because you just blew it, the thing that you don't want to do is to add another year on top of the year where you still owe for returns. Adding additional periods, adding additional financial liability is just going to make your tax strife worse. And if it threw you off originally so that you didn't meet your responsibilities, if you add enough on top of it, eventually you're going to capitulate. You're going to give in. You're going to act, and you're going to convince yourself that there's nothing you can do to dig yourself out from underneath the hole. And that's where you're wrong. There's a method to get out and avoid the IRS cycle of destruction, whether it's not filing returns or not paying the amount of tax that is due, or both. And I'm going to tell you real quick how. And you do what it is that I refer to as putting bookends around your IRS challenge. There's a specific date where your IRS challenges started. And the time to put a bookend on the end of it is right now. When you have bookends around your IRS challenges, you can then isolate those challenges and you can work to resolve them. Because they are what they are, and you're going to be able to identify that, and you're going to be able to work with it. Especially with Taxpayer Victory. You can do it yourself. You can do it yourself successfully. And you're going to do it without adding new periods onto it. So if you already have tax returns that you haven't filed in the past, first ones that you're going to file are the ones that are due now. File your 1040s that are due now. prepare them accurately, and get them filed on time. If you don't have enough money to pay the tax that is due with the return that is due next, file the return anyway. Okay, you're going to be delinquent on your payment, but get the return in on time. Start following your responsibilities. Demonstrate that you're trying to get back on the horse. At least that's the way that I refer to it. Start taking those small steps to isolate, put a bookend on those tax challenges that are a thing of the past that you still have to pay attention to, and you will. But by gosh, don't add anything new to it. File a return if you don't have what is necessary to pay it in full. But whatever you do, don't file the oldest return and fail to file the one that's due now. And if you have taxes due now for this current period of time, be very cautious that you don't take your money and pay the oldest year that you owe and not be able to pay the one that's due now. You're going to have to look at that and consider that. Because there you're just replacing one year for the other. And a new statute of limitations runs. Starts all over again for the new year. Statute of limitations is the time that the IRS can, under the law, act to collect the tax that's due from you. Generally speaking, that's 10 years. So if you have a tax liability that's 9 years old, and you don't have enough to pay the tax and the 9-year-old tax, the tax that's due now in the 9-year-old tax, you better ask yourself the question, why would you pay the 9-year-old tax and not the one that's due now? Because that old one's going to drop in a year due to the expiration of the statute if the IRS doesn't act upon and try to collect it. This is what I mean by cycle of destruction. By not taking steps to do what you need to do to pay and file currently, you're adding to the old problems so that the total of them gets larger. And if you don't think about what you're doing when you try to take a step to resolve one at the expense of the other, you could be digging yourself even a deeper and more continuing hole. Avoid the cycle of destruction. And if you see somebody engaging or failing to do things in a way that adds to their tax strife, talk to them about it. Take this video and make sure that they watch it. This is the first step, as they say, to getting your life back. Get back on the horse. And you'll be able to do it yourself. Take a look at the power packs that Taxpayer Victory makes available to you. And choose the topics that are appropriate for you. And you'll be able to do it yourself. I'm Tax Controversy, Richard Craig Krause and Associates. Okay? We'll stop it there. You'll be able to do it yourself. We're going to end it there. I'm not going to do it all over again.